Welcome to The Explainer. I'm going to be adopting the role of your friendly neighborhood device technician today. We're going to put our devices right here on the workbench and diagnose exactly what makes them tick and, well, sometimes what makes them pop. We all rely on these glowing little rectangles all day long, but very few of us actually understand the chemistry that's happening just millimeters beneath the glass. Okay, let's dive into this. So take a look at this real-world aftermath of a lithium-ion battery fire. And no, this isn't from some action movie set. I really wanted to start right here just to clearly establish the incredibly high stakes of ignoring your battery's health. A modern device battery is incredibly energy dense. Actually, that density is exactly what makes it such a modern marvel. It's what allows us to literally carry computers in our pockets. But if a simple lithium-ion battery is mistreated, punctured, or charged incorrectly, it can quickly become a highly volatile fire risk.
Section 1. The hidden battery danger.
Right, let's move into the consultation phase of our workbench diagnosis. To really grasp device safety, I want you to start thinking of your phone's battery not just as a standard piece of electronics, but as a tiny, highly active chemical engine. And just like a car engine, if it gets pushed past its limits or experiences the wrong conditions, it can suffer a catastrophic failure. So what does a failing chemical engine actually look like? Well, these right here are your absolute critical red flags. If you see visible swelling, or notice your screen starting to lift away from the frame, or, see weird rainbow distortions on the display, your battery is in major distress. Do you smell something sweet, almost like nail polish, or maybe hear hissing and popping sounds? That is literally the sound of a battery actively venting. Using some simple logic here, extreme heat and deep discharging break down the battery's internal chemistry. This creates internal gases that bloat the battery pouch, giving your phone essentially a very dangerous chemical stomachache. If you ever notice any of these things, just power the device down immediately.
Section 2. Old myths versus new tech. Now let's clear up some major confusion. One of the absolute most common questions I get at the workbench is whether charging your phone overnight is secretly killing it. And to answer that accurately, we kind of have to look at the stark contrast between the old days and today. Now, what's really interesting about this is that older phones really did suffer from overnight charging. They relied on something called trickle charging. This meant that once the battery hit 100%, the charger just kept delivering constant microbursts of power to keep it perfectly topped off. This generated a ton of unnecessary heat and just degraded the cell capacity over time. But modern devices, they are so much smarter. They use optimized software that deliberately holds the charge at 80%, and it literally waits to finish the job until right before you need it.
Notice that big plateau in the middle of the night on this actual usage chart from a modern smartphone? You can clearly see how the charging curve just flattens right out. Intelligent chargers literally learn your daily routine. They delay that final 20% of the charge just to minimize the time the battery spends sitting at absolute maximum capacity. By doing this, modern software mitigates both the chemical aging of the battery and that dreaded heat stress that causes so many of the physical problems we just talked about.
Section 3. Spotting fake accessories. But here's the thing. Even the absolute smartest phone software in the world can't protect itself from external culprits that bypass these modern safety features entirely. So let's shift our focus to the environmental hazards and the accessories that are just notorious for causing catastrophic overheating and damage. I want to ask you a direct question. How can you confidently spot a fake charger? Think about those cheap replacement cables you might have grabbed in a hurry from a gas station, or maybe an unverified online marketplace or a street vendor. I mean, they seem like a totally great bargain at the time, right? But they are often wolves in sheep's clothing, putting your entire device at risk.
All right, here is your official technician's checklist for spotting those counterfeits. Number 1, inspect the packaging. Blurry logos or typos in the text, dead giveaways of poor quality control. Number 2, look at the physical build itself. Are the metal wall prongs cheap, easily bent, or, even worse, showing signs of rust? Authentic prongs are almost always solid brass or copper. Number 3, check the specs. Fake chargers notoriously mislabel the voltage and amperage, either under-delivering or dangerously over-delivering power. And finally, if the charger block itself gets extremely hot or your phone starts charging erratically, just unplug it. Counterfeit cables use incredibly poor insulation and completely lack the proper safety mechanisms needed to regulate temperature, and that is directly risking your device's battery life and your personal safety.
And it's not just the hardware you bring into your own home that poses a threat. It's where you plug in when you're out and about too. Let me define a hidden, almost invisible threat for you called juice jacking. This is a cyber attack where public USB charging ports, yeah, exactly like the ones you see at airports, hotels, or local cafes, are actually manipulated by hackers.
While you might think that public port is just innocently juicing up your battery because standard USB cables transfer both power and data, that exact same port could actually be hijacking your sensitive information or even installing malware right onto your phone.
Fortunately, you can easily defend against this. Here is some highly actionable advice to avoid these rogue ports completely. The absolute best method? Just bring your own charger block and plug it straight into a standard AC wall outlet, completely bypassing those public USB ports. But if you absolutely must use a public USB port, use a USB data blocker. These are sometimes jokingly referred to as a USB condom. It's just a tiny adapter that allows power to flow, but it physically blocks the data transfer pins. Carrying your own portable power bank is also a fantastic foolproof solution. By simply neutralizing the data connection, you completely neutralize the threat.
Section 4. The 30 to 80 rule.
Okay, let's transition into the treatment phase of our workbench session. We've diagnosed the internal problems, we know how to spot the fake hardware, and we've secured our data. Now, I'm going to give you the ultimate daily prescription for your charging habits that will significantly extend your battery's overall lifespan. The first half of this prescription, 30%. As a technician, I see so many totally degraded batteries from people who constantly let their phone drain all the way down to absolutely zero before even looking for a charger. Remember our chemical engine analogy from earlier? A deep discharge severely stresses the internal chemistry of the cell. So to keep those chemicals stable and happy, the golden rule of thumb is to simply plug your device in before the battery dips below 30%.
And this brilliantly illustrates the other half of the rule, 80%. We talked a little earlier about how intelligent chargers delay that final push to 100. Well, if you're actively charging your phone during the day, try to manually unplug it when it hits 80%. Pushing a lithium-ion battery to its absolute maximum capacity creates a ton of internal heat and pressure. By keeping your battery cycling right in that sweet spot, between 30 and 80%, you are radically reducing the mechanical and thermal stress on the battery pouch. But beyond just those numbers, you absolutely must prioritize keeping your phone cool. Heat is literally the ultimate enemy here. You should always charge your phone on a hard, cool surface. Avoid soft surfaces like couches or blankets, and absolutely positively never charge your phone under a pillow while you sleep. Soft surfaces act as insulators, and they just trap all that heat generated by the charging process. Also, if your phone has one of those thick, bulky protective cases, it is a really great habit to just pop it off while charging to let the battery dissipate that heat safely out into the air.
Wow, we've covered a lot of really crucial ground in this explainer today, from the volatile chemistry of swelling batteries to the hidden dangers of fake cables and public USB ports. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Take a look at your phone right now. Seriously, look at it. What is your current battery percentage and exactly what kind of charger is plugged into it? Are you treating your chemical engine right? Take these tips, apply them today, and I promise you your devices are going to live a much longer, healthier life. Thank you so much for joining me on the workbench today, and I'll catch you next time.